They laughed when Darwin mentioned Earth. In the Galactic Central Assembly, 1,000 species hummed with data streamers and neural speech. Yet whenever Earth came up, the air thickened with mockery. Primitive rock, one delegate snorted, still sending signals through particles like it's the binary age. Another added, they refuse alignment. Let them rot behind their quarantine wall. But Darwin had seen something. It started with a pattern. Anomalies buried in old war data, flagged as statistical corruption. But Darwin was an analyst, not a politician. He noticed what others missed. A fleet of 72 ships erased from logs during the Virex conflict. No debris, no survivors, just a timestamp, then silence. Earth's signature appeared in the system 41 seconds before the blackout. He requested access to the raw feeds. Denied. Requested again. Denied. That's when the warning started. A private message pinged into his neural relay. Stop asking questions. This isn't forgotten. It's buried. Darwin didn't stop. He dug deeper, calling in old favors from archivists, cross-referencing old trade routes. He found whispers of fleets that vanished near Earth's boundaries, diplomats who never returned, survey teams who blinked off the grid mid-transmission. Each time, the response was the same. Earth was non-cooperative and not worth further engagement. It was there, quiet, untouched, and somehow feared. Darwin presented his findings in an emergency subcommittee. The reactions ranged from boredom to irritation. The Earth myth again, one chancellor groaned. That backwater never even developed hyperlane technology. Let them stew. Another added, you're just chasing ghost stories, analyst. We have a real war brewing in the Tarshan sector. Not some human fairy tale. But fairy tales didn't leave behind classified black zones and memory-sealed witnesses. After that meeting, Darwin's access was restricted. Half his files disappeared from the archive. His apartment security was overridden one night. Nothing stolen, just the unmistakable fingerprint of someone who wanted him to know he'd been watched. Then came the data shard, delivered by hand. Anonymous courier, untraceable origin. It pulsed with old encryption, civilian grade, crude. Inside was a short clip, labeled "Do Not Open." Of course he opened it. A soldier, alien, pale, bruised, eyes wide, recorded on a body cam. He was hiding inside what looked like a destroyed command center. Smoke drifted, lights flickered. His voice shook. They don't respond. The soldier whispered, we broadcast surrender. No answer. We powered down weapons. No answer. We evacuated civilians. Still they came. His hand trembled as he turned the camera to the outside viewport. Nothing. Space. Then, a blur. A single Earth vessel appeared, motionless, without propulsion trail or sound. Its hull looked wrong. Not built, but grown. Smooth. Matte. Unbroken by windows or weapons. The soldier whispered, they told us Earth was dead. They lied. Then static. Darwin watched it 6 times. Ran spectrum analysis. The ship's signature matched nothing on record. No heat. No radiation. No life signs. The file was dated 214 years ago. That same night, Darwin received another message. No threat this time. Just 6 words. They tried to tell you to. He started reaching out. He wasn't alone. There were others. Fringe historians, decommissioned admirals, banned journalists. All with scraps of the same nightmare. They called themselves the Silent Record. None had ever found Earth. None dared try. But they had pieces. A report from a rogue merchant who claimed to breach the outer zone. Claimed his crew vanished one by one. No alarms, no traces. When he returned, he was alone. Didn't remember turning around. His ship's clock was 61 years off. A map found in a dead explorer's belongings. Marked only with the symbol of an open eye and a word. Listen. Darwin cross-checked everything. The anomalies aligned. Temporal distortions. AI shutdowns. Neural implants self-wiping. Always near Earth. Then the final piece arrived. Not a document. Not a recording. A person. She was human. Young. Clean. Unafraid. She walked into the Central Assembly one morning and requested a civilian observer pass. Said her name was Ilya. Said she was from Earth. Security detained her instantly. Darwin watched from the upper tiers as she stood silently for hours in a holding chamber. No panic. No confusion. Just silence. They questioned her. She answered plainly. Yes, she was human. No, she wouldn't say how she got here. No, she didn't come with weapons. She came with a message. They laughed. Earth send a girl. They mocked. Darwin pulled every favor to get into the room with her. When he arrived, the guard stood outside, still eyes glassy. Alive, but not present. She looked at him and said, "You've been asking questions." He nodded. "Good," she said. "Then you already know the answer." But they still don't. They think we were defeated, that we disappeared. Her voice was calm, almost sad. They think silence means weakness. That's the first mistake. Silence is the warning. He asked her what happened to the fleets, the colonists, the scouts. She smiled faintly. They listened. Before he could ask more, alarms triggered across the assembly. One by one, data feeds crashed. Translation systems flickered. Light dimmed. Not a power loss, something deeper, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Through every screen, every display, a single phrase appeared in thousands of languages. "We asked to be left alone." Panic broke out. Delegates screamed. Ships launched without clearance. Borders closed. Emergency protocols activated. But nothing came. No invasion. No strike. Just silence. Ilya was gone. Cell empty. No trace. Darwin was detained, interrogated, then quietly exiled. The assembly issued a statement blaming a data anomaly and labeled the event a hoax. But delegates resigned. A few disappeared. One, the Virex ambassador, took his own life. No note, only a single word scrawled in his native language. Listened. Darwin went into hiding. He keeps a small transmitter running, repeating the same message every cycle. They tried to tell the truth about Earth. Nobody listened, but now someone will. Darwin lived off-grid now, deep beneath the crust of a frozen moon where no relay signals could track him. He hadn't slept in weeks, not really. The silence had changed. It no longer just filled the air. It pressed against his skull like a memory, trying to be remembered. Earth hadn't made a threat. They hadn't launched a war. They simply said nothing. And yet, whole systems had gone dark since the girl left. Yet no more. A contact from the silent record reached out. Old War archivist. Name, Trin. She operated a deep vault facility, disconnected from the grid, running on analog. Said she had something. Said it was real. When he arrived, Trin looked like she hadn't seen sunlight in years. Her fingers shook as she held up the data crystal. We weren't supposed to have this. It was flagged for deletion before the ink dried on the surrender. Darwin inserted the crystal into a shielded reader. A log loaded. Military classification. Virex conflict. Level black. Unviewed since record. The first image froze him. An orbital feed. Galactic fleet. 30 ships strong. Positioning above Earth's moon. Standard formation. Comms stable. Weapons power down. Then static. The frame jumped. Fleet gone. No debris. No signs of fire. Just emptiness. The log's timestamp jumped forward 2 minutes. Another jump. Now Earth's surface. Satellite cam. Cities lit up. Bright. Overdeveloped. Crowded. Then one blinked out. Then another. Like someone clicking off lights in a house. One by one. Whole urban zones ceased to exist. Not exploded. Not burned. Simply gone. Scanned frame by frame. It showed faint ripples like gravity bending, but inverted like space pulled inward. Then came the audio feed. A fleet commander screaming. They're not firing. They're not responding. They're just watching. Then silence. Darwin scrolled forward. A note in the metadata. Biological anomaly. Command ship incident. He played the clip. A diplomatic envoy. 5 species. All high level. Onboard Earth perimeter flagship. They enter a chamber. A human stands in the center. No weapons. No armor. Just a black suit. He greets them. He never raises his voice. He never moves. He just speaks. One by one, the envoys begin to weep. Then collapse. Their biometric implants record cortical spikes. Fear, grief, loss, recognition. One tries to claw out his eyes. Another begins apologizing in every language he knows. Then he chokes and stops moving. The final one says, "We were wrong," and falls still. The feed ends with the human's voice soft. This is what listening feels like. Trin closed the file. Her eyes were wet. I used to believe we were bringing peace, integration, harmony. But that, she shook her head, that was power we weren't built to understand. Darwin asked how Earth got it. what kind of weapon it was. She laughed, bitter. It wasn't a weapon. That's the point. We sent fleets. They sent silence. We sent threats. They sent understanding. And it shattered us. He left the vault with copies of the logs and a mind full of questions. The galaxy needed to see this. It was no longer about warning. It was about accountability. He uploaded the footage to the Blackstream, the decentralized network beyond council control. It spread fast. Millions downloaded the logs in hours. Commentaries, reactions, dissecting every frame. Then, users began disappearing. Accounts deleted mid-post. IPs untraceable. Entire nodes went offline. Not for hacks. Just gone. New messages appeared in their place. They were not ready to listen. Galactic News tried to discredit it all as a viral psyop. But too many people had seen. Too many recognized faces. A former general, retired, long assumed dead, confirmed the footage. That was the first encounter. We never made it to the second. Within days, systems began to destabilize. Planets declared neutrality. Unions collapsed. Border patrols doubled, then stopped entirely. Trade routes through Sector 117 were abandoned. Darwin received a signal, one he didn't expect, encrypted, from an old relay only used by decommissioned intelligence assets. It was a voice he recognized. Ilya. She spoke calmly. You pushed the truth into the light. That was brave. He asked where she was. Nowhere, she replied. Everywhere. Earth doesn't need to be found. It's been watching. He asked what they wanted. To be left alone, she said, then paused. But now you've listened. That changes things. Before he could respond, the message ended. His screen remained black for a moment, then glitched. A single image appeared. An Earth ship, still. Black. Wrong. A word etched onto the hull in 100 languages. Remember, that same moment, a dozen council worlds simultaneously dropped off the grid. Comms lost. No physical destruction. No warning. Just void. The message was clear. Earth was not attacking. Earth was redacting. Darwin knew the galaxy had crossed a line it didn't understand. It wasn't a war. It wasn't retaliation. It was consequence. And now, everyone will be made to listen. Darwin didn't sleep the night the worlds vanished. He sat in the dark, watching the message loop on every secure screen he had. We asked to be left alone. Across the galaxy, fear rippled faster than light. Trade ceased. Military fleets turned inward. Every known power structure blinked in a crisis mode, but there was no enemy to fight. No demands. No invasion. Just silence and disappearance. The council blamed data corruption. Again. But the disappearances were real. Whole cities emptied without violence. Entire species lost portions of their history. Planets reported collective amnesia. Millions waking up with gaps in memory, unable to recall the names of their leaders, their wars, or even their homes. Darwin reached out to what remained of the silent record. Most were gone. Those who replied did so with hesitation. One archivist sent a fragment of an intercepted transmission. High-frequency pulse data, scrambled, translated only once. It read, "Silence is not surrender. It is mercy." The implication was undeniable. Earth wasn't taking revenge. It was editing the galaxy, one lie at a time. Desperation turned to chaos. In the outer systems, fringe cults emerged, some worshipping Earth, others warning against even speaking its name. They called themselves the listeners. They claimed that by meditating on Earth silence, one could cleanse the noise. Videos surfaced of entire villages sitting in perfect stillness for days, waiting for a sign. Many never moved again. Meanwhile, Darwin's broadcast had reached the deepest corners of the network. Translations appeared in over 10,000 languages. The logs, the fleet footage, the disappearing planets. It was no longer theory. It was religion, or terror, sometimes both. But the council still called it a hoax. Until the ghost ships arrived. First reports came from deep mining sectors. Unregistered vessels, featureless, jet black, no propulsion trails, hovering just outside sensor range. They didn't respond. They didn't broadcast. They just watched. A mining crew attempted contact. The next day, the entire asteroid colony was found intact but empty. Equipment untouched. Meals half-eaten. No life signs. The ghost ship was gone. Darwin intercepted a report from a salvage crew that investigated one such site. Inside the colony central database was a single file, an audio log of someone whispering. We listened. We were heard. Then it corrupted itself beyond recovery. Governments declared martial law. Civilian traffic was grounded. Entire constellations went dark, opting to shut down technology and revert to analog life out of fear that any signal might attract Earth's attention. Darwin knew it wouldn't matter. Earth didn't track transmissions. It tracked intent, and it had been watching for far longer than anyone understood. He received another message, this time not encrypted. No address, no source, just plain text across every surface in his bunker. You open the door. They will walk through it. That same moment, an emergency session of the Galactic Council began. It was the first all-species meeting in over a century. All delegates were present. Even those who had once mocked Darwin now wore fear like armor. He watched via an unlisted stream. The Grand Speaker's voice trembled as she addressed the assembly. Contact has been made, she admitted, but no channel exists to communicate. Earth has not responded. It has only acted. We must assume this is a psychological assault. We propose immediate containment and retaliatory force projection. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Uncertainty, panic. Darwin knew they still didn't understand. You don't retaliate against silence. You adapt. Then, mid-session, every light in the council's chamber dimmed. One delegate stood up, mouth opening to speak, but no sound came out. Not from him. Not from anyone. The translation systems failed. No one could hear each other. Darwin watched as the most powerful species in the known universe devolved into wordless chaos. Hands waving, eyes wide, mouths moving with nothing coming out. Then the chamber itself went dark. Transmission lost. Darwin stared at his screen. The silence felt heavier now, like a thing with weight, like the gravity of a star pulling inward. That's when a message came again. Only this time, it wasn't on his screen. It was in his mind. Clear, gentle, final. You heard. You shared. Now listen. Darwin collapsed to the floor. He wasn't in pain. He wasn't afraid. He just felt, understood, in the most terrifying, absolute way. When he woke, time had passed. He didn't know how much. The stars outside his bunker looked different, slightly shifted, as if something had moved the galaxy and put it back, just not quite where it had been. He checked the network. There was no council, no broadcast systems, no planetary indexes, only static and one transmission looping endlessly across every surviving channel. A woman's voice. Calm. Familiar. Ilya. You try to warn them. So did we. Now, they listened the only way left. Darwin breathed in and felt it settle. The truth. The weight of it. Earth hadn't changed. It hadn't evolved beyond violence. It had evolved beyond noise. It had become something else. A mirror. And the galaxy had finally looked into it. 50 years later, no one speaks of Earth. Not because they've forgotten. Because remembering hurts. The galaxy is quieter now. Not peaceful, quiet. Entire trade lanes lie abandoned. Sectors that once pulsed with data and ships are ghost zones. The stars remain, but the space between them feels different, denser, as if thought itself struggles to pass through. Darwin is still alive. Old now, hidden on a nameless moon wrapped in static storms. He's not hunted, not famous, just ignored, like the warning he once gave. He spends his days archiving. Not data, memories, his own, others, fragments recovered from the before. He speaks them aloud into an old recorder. No uplink, no signals, just words. Spoken, not transmitted, because he learned. Words travel. Words invite attention. Attention leads to silence. But today is different. Today he records the story. The girl came first, he says into the recorder. Ilya, human, but not. She wasn't a scout or a threat. She was a message. We were too arrogant to hear it. We wanted defiance. What we got was understanding. And it broke us. He pauses. No one ever attacked Earth, he says. Not truly. They didn't have to defend. They reflected. Outside, a dust storm shifts the horizon. Nothing else moves. The recorder continues. There was no final war, Darwin says. No great strike. We simply unraveled, piece by piece. Not with violence. With silence. With the absence of conflict. With the unbearable truth that we were the aggressors. and Earth just held up a mirror. Darwin remembers the day the council fell. Not with bombs or fire, with stillness. Delegates vanished. Files disappeared. Entire governments stopped existing. Not destroyed, but forgotten. As if Earth had erased them from the script of the galaxy and left no trace they had ever been written. Some worlds fought the silence, built bunkers, shut down satellites, taught children to fear the name human. Others embraced it. They became listeners. They planted gardens in abandoned cities. They spoke only in whispers. They wrote apologies into the soil. It made no difference. Earth never responded, because Earth was never asking for forgiveness, only distance. Darwin knows this now. They told us, he says quietly. Every signal we ignored, every envoy we mocked, every report we buried. They told us. We didn't listen. He opens a data shard, one of the last remaining records from before the collapse. It's audio only, distorted, but the voice is unmistakable. Ilya, we asked to be left alone. You approached. We spoke with silence. You advanced. We reflected. And now you understand. What remains is yours to choose. Carry the silence forward, or be consumed by it. The message ends. He's listened to it 1,000 times. And every time, he feels something deeper than fear. Something closer to reverence. A child enters the bunker. She was born after the quiet began. She's never known a city, or a government, or a starship. Only wind, dirt, and the sound of her grandfather's stories. Can we visit Earth? She asks. Darwin turns slowly, looks at her, and smiles faintly. No, he says. Earth isn't a place. Not anymore. It's a decision. The child tilts her head. Will it ever talk to us? He shakes his head. It already did. She sits beside him, and they watch the dust outside swirl. In the silence, she listens. Not for noise, but for meaning. Darwin places the last shard into a sealed box, wraps it in cloth, and sets it in the deepest part of the archive. Not to protect it, to let it rest. Across the galaxy, survivors rebuild. Not to regain power, but to remember humility. Ships are smaller now, quieter, fewer signals, fewer eyes watching the stars. And somewhere, no one knows where, Earth watches. Not judging, not plotting, just existing, like gravity, like truth. Waiting. A probe once found what might have been Earth. The planet had no satellites, no visible cities, no artificial structures. The probe tried to land. It never touched the ground. It vanished mid-descent, its logs ending with one final transmission. We understand now. We will not return. The probe's signal was discovered years later, looping endlessly through background radiation. Some scientists try to recover it. They're gone now. Darwin ends the recording. I'm the last who remembers what the galaxy was before we listened, and I will be the last to speak of it. He powers down the recorder. The silence returns, but it's different now. Not empty. Full. As if Earth is still there, not behind a quarantine wall, but behind every word not spoken. Behind every war not fought. Behind every fear that decides, instead, to understand. And in that silence, the galaxy finally listens.